Certification Requirements. In order to apply for PMP certificate, you need to have a secondary degree, for instance a high school or equivalent education level. If your highest attended education level is secondary degree, in order to apply for PMP, you need to satisfy the following 3 conditions. First, 5 years of project management experience. Second, 7,500 hours leading and directing projects. And third, 35 hours of project management education. Note that project management experience requirement does not seek for active management of a project. Participating in a project environment also counts for this 5 years of experience requirement. However, 7,500 hours of these 5 years, which makes around 3.5 years, need to be spent of leading and directing projects. Again, this doesn't mean that you should have enrolled in a project as a project manager. A leading or directing role can be supervisor of a junior team member or team members, team leader of a group, assisting project manager in some of the project management activities, etc. Or, if your highest attended education level is a 4-year degree or above, for instance a bachelor's degree or equivalent, master's degree, doctorate, etc., in order to apply for PMP, you need to satisfy the following 3 conditions. First, 3 years of project management experience. Second, 4,500 hours leading and directing projects. And third, 35 hours of project management education. Note that project management experience requirement does not seek for active management of a project. Participating in a project environment also counts for this 3 years of experience requirement. However, 4,500 hours of these 3 years, which makes around 2 years, need to be spent of leading and directing projects. Again, this doesn't mean that you should have enrolled in a project as a project manager. A leading or directing role can be supervisor of a junior team member or team members, team leader of a group, assisting project manager in some of the project management activities, etc. In order to check details of PMP certification requirements, please check the PMP Handbook in PMI.org. For 35 hours of project management education requirement of PMP certificate, you can enroll in PMP Exam Complete Training, 35 PDU hours Ultimate PMP course. You can find discount links in the bonus section of My Courses. During this lecture, we have seen PMP certification eligibility requirements. During the next lecture, we will be going over application methods. PMP Application Methods. How to apply for PMP certificate. If you satisfy the conditions of PMP certificate, you can submit your application in 2 ways, online or paper. Online application is reviewed in 5 calendar days. There are 2 paths for paper application. If you make your application as an individual by paper, after application is received by PMI, application is reviewed in 10 calendar days. If your application is done by a corporation by paper, for instance by the institution or education provider, after the application is received by PMI, application is reviewed in 20 calendar days. PMI recommends online application for applicants because it is easier to evaluate the eligibility for PMP during submitting your details. Review process is finalized faster in online applications compared to paper applications, and you can track the up-to-date status of your application through PMI.org in online applications. Online application can be started by creating a profile on PMI.org through certification.pmi.org. During this lecture, we have seen 2 different ways of applying for PMP. During the next lectures, how to create your profile on PMI.org and how to apply for PMP certificate will be described step by step from scratch. If you have already applied for PMP, Or if you already have a profile on PMI.org, you can skip some parts of the remaining lectures. Online application. Create profile. During the following lectures, it is assumed that you are completely new to PMP and respectively to PMI.org. Therefore, applying for PMP is described starting from creation of a profile in PMI.org. Therefore, first we need to create a profile on PMI.org by clicking on Create an Account button. Then, you need to fill in your details to create your profile. In this section, optional fields are marked. All other fields are mandatory to create your profile. After you completed your details, click on Submit button to create your profile. If you have submitted all your details properly, your profile will be created and you will be logged into your profile automatically. During this lecture, we have seen how to create our profile at PMI.org. During the next lecture, we will be going over how to fill in personal details in the application form. Online application. Personal details. After you created your profile in PMI.org, you will see the status of your account for all certificates provided by PMI. You need to click on Apply for PMP Credential to start your PMP application. First, you need to add your address information. You can add more than one address, but at least one address is required for application. If you have defined more than one address, please also select the preferred address, since your PMP certificate will be sent to your preferred address once you pass the exam. I will add a home address during this application, therefore I click on Add Home Address button. Details of your address are defined. Note that mandatory fields are marked with a red asterisk on the left side of the field label. After completing typing details of your address, press the Save button. Since I have submitted my email during creation of my profile, it is already seen as configured and preferred email in this section. However, you can add new email addresses and change your preferred emails whenever you want. Preferred email address is important because notifications and updates about your application will be communicated through your preferred email address. You need to add also a phone number to your details. To do this, we click on Add Phone Number button. After defining phone number, click on Save button. And as you see, preferred phone number is also updated in Contact Information section of your application. In order to proceed, click on Save and Continue button. During this lecture, we have seen how to define personal details. During the next lecture, we will see how to define attained education. Online application. Attained education. In attained education part, highest level of education attained at the application time needs to be defined. Note that here there is a yes/no question first. If you have graduated from a PMI GAC accredited university, you need to select First Radio button, and then you will select your university from the drop-down list that will appear after you answered as yes to the first question. If you are not sure whether your university is PMI GAC accredited, you can first select yes and then check whether your university exists in the list that will appear after you select yes. If your university is in the list, you can proceed to your application from there. Since my university is not a PMI GAC accredited university, I will answer no to the first question and proceed to my application. Attained education part is crucial in your application because The rest of the application and requirements that you need to satisfy are determined based on the highest education level you attained. After you defined your highest education level, click Save and Continue button. In the next section, PMP requirements are reminded before proceeding to eligibility requirements. After you review again the requirements, click on Save and Continue button. During the next lecture, we will see how to fill in project management experience. Online application, PM experience. Based on the highest education level you have attained, eligibility worksheet will be configured. Since I have defined my highest education level as master's degree, as you see, 36 months and 4,500 hours of project management experience will be required. I need to add my project experiences to satisfy PM experience requirement of PMP application. To add these experiences, click on PM Experience. Experience part appears, and here, we click on Add button to add project experiences. Start and end dates of first project experiences are filled in with role and industry information. After you filled in your project experience, click Save and Continue button. Details of the organization you had the project experience are submitted. After you filled in company or organization details that you had your project experience, click on Save and Continue button. A contact person from the organization who can give details or refer that you had the project experience you submitted is provided. After you filled in contact information from the company or organization who can refer to your experience, click on Save and Continue button. In this part, you need to fill in how many hours you spent in each phase of your project. PMI does not require a precise hour calculation here. Fill in roughly how many hours you spent for each phase in your project experience. When filling your experience hours, you can assume that 1 month of experience approximately equals to 180 hours of work. After you've filled hours you spent for each phase, click on the Save and Continue button. Here, you need to type project goals and your roles and responsibility. In the project experience you filled in, your entry must be between 300 and 550 characters, and you can see the character count under the left side of the text box where you will be typing. After you've filled in the box, click on Save and Continue. As you can see, the project experience I have entered counts for 23 months, and I still need 13 months of project experience in order to be eligible for PMP. Therefore, I need to enter another project experience. To do this, I click on Add button again. Similar steps as I did in entering the first project experience are followed when entering second project experience as well. Therefore, I will pass entry of this second project experience faster. Details of new project experience are entered, and we click on Save and Continue button. Company or organization details and your position details are filled in. Contact in the organization or company who can refer to your project experience is filled in. Spent hours in each phase of the project are filled in. Project goals and your roles and responsibilities on this project experience are filled in. Now, as you see, project management experience requirement has been satisfied with the experiences we filled in. And as you see, Add button is disabled since requirement has been already satisfied. Although you might have several and exceeding project experiences, PMI will only look for whether you will meet the minimum requirements. Once filled-in experiences meet or exceed the PMP eligibility requirements, entry of new experiences will not be allowed by the application form. During this lecture, we have gone through filling in project management experience. During the next lecture, we will be going over providing project management education details in application form. Online application, PM education. Either you have a secondary or 4-year degree, 35 hours of project management education requirement of PMP does not change. In order to be a PMP, 35 hours of project management education must be submitted. To enter your project management education, click on Add button. Details of the project management education you enrolled are provided in this part. Note that, here, two fields might be confusing: hours and qualifying hours. Hours is the total time you spend in hours for the course, and qualifying hours is the qualified hours which can be counted for 35 hours of project management education. For instance, if a course includes self-study sessions, these count for total time you spent for the course, but cannot be qualified hours. Therefore, PMI requires 35 qualifying hours from a project management education. Since the project management education I entered has 35 qualifying hours, I already satisfied the project management education requirement. But you might have enrolled in several courses, and if these courses' total qualifying hours also satisfy the project management education requirement of PMI, then you can enter several educations in this part as well until this requirement is satisfied. As you see, the Add button is disabled by the application form as well, since requirement has been satisfied already. Online application, review and submit. After project management experience and education requirements are satisfied, optional information is required. You may skip these questions or prefer to answer. Name that will appear on the certificate is defined here. Application form puts automatically your first and last names you defined during your profile creation. If you want a different name to be displayed on your certificate, or if you have additional names, these need to be defined here in this certificate section. After you define the name that will appear on the certificate, approval will be requested. Then, agreement form of PMI is displayed for you to read, and agree before applying. Click on I agree, tick box, and then Save and Continue button. A review of your application is provided, and a confirmation is requested to proceed to your application. A final approval is required to submit your application. And finally, PMP application form has been submitted. A notification email for the application you submitted is immediately sent to your preferred email address. Online applications are reviewed by PMI in 5 calendar days. You will be receiving notification to your preferred email address about the application process. If you log on to your account on PMI.org, you will be seeing your up-to-date status about certifications and applications. PMI Audit Process. PMI audits some PMP applications. This audit is done randomly. If your PMP application is audited, PMI might require you to provide copies of your diploma or global equivalent. No matter if you have a secondary or 4-year degree, if PMI asks for your diploma, you need to provide copies of your diploma to PMI. PMI might require reference letters from your supervisors or managers that you perform the project work you stated in your application. If this is asked by PMI, when asking your supervisors or managers to write reference letters, provide them also what you mentioned in your PMP application to avoid any inconsistencies between your application and their references. PMI might also require copies of certificates and/or letters from the training institutes for each course recorded in Project Management Education section. If this is required by PMI, provide copies of your completion certificates regarding project management education you enrolled, transcript of the course, which includes the curriculum, and also letter of enrollment, which proves you enrolled in that course. Even if you do not have these, if you contact your education provider, they should provide the information you requested for PMI. After you receive the notification email of PMI regarding supporting documentation about audit, you need to send these documents to the following address of PMI within 90 days.